Good morning, everyone. Before we get started today, I wanted to ask you to support one of our affiliate partners, CHOQ, C-H-O-Q. This company uses the finest organic, non-GMO ingredients in their products. Our featured product today is CHOQ Lit Powder. I use it every morning in my coffee, making it the most nutritious coffee mocha on the planet. It's delicious. Absolutely delicious. To find out more, click the link below. They have sales all the time, so hurry and get yours today. Thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful night's sleep. I kind of did. God woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to have me read something special for you today. It's going to be an interesting thought today. Interesting concept. We're going to be diving deep into the mind of God as revealed to us through the scriptures. And it's really, once I get into it, I'll probably be able to speak a little bit more, because God has a way of taking over. Because I ask him to, because I'm not a very well speaker, as you can tell. And kind of like Moses felt when he was like, "Hey, what do you want me to do this for? I'm not an eloquent speaker." But this message today is really, really cool. So I'll begin. First off, got to give credit where credit is due, because along with the volumes of the Zohar that I have down here, this is the ancient Kabbalah mystical text. There's also this book that I'll be referring to today called The Origins of Consciousness. By Rav Yehuda Ashlag. Commentary by Michael Berg. It's a great book. And in the first pages of it, they're talking about why this stuff is important. And when God led me to read this morning, it was talking about how we get closer to God and really what our purpose is here in this realm. What are we supposed to be doing here? Now, according to this scripture, it is to become closer to God. To become, or to really understand how God creates. And the way that we do that, according to this, my understanding of this anyway, is that we must understand the mind of God at the moment that he was creating this. And once we understand all the reasons behind it, then we cleave to or return to God. So this morning, God was teaching me that all of this is explained in Genesis, my favorite chapter, first chapter of Genesis. It's really awesome. And he kept referring me to that because in that is the beginning. So let me read here in this book with the introduction that was given by Michael Berg. Really, it's like poetic the way that this is cool. This is written. He was talking about how Rev Ashlag, he was explaining that every person needs to come to understand the source of his soul, and that the purpose of our lives is to achieve devok, or cleaving and union, with the light of the Creator. Cleaving or union with the light of the Creator. And then he talks about the article, and I'd like to read parts of it to you here. He says the passages saying that every person is obligated to understand the root of his soul means that the Creator's desire and hoped for purpose for his creations is the cleaving to him, as it is written, and to cleave to him in Deuteronomy 11:22. The sages explained this as meaning cleaving to the Creator's qualities, just as he is merciful, so we should be merciful, etc. And the Creator's qualities are manifested by the Holy Sephiroth, as we know. Now, what are the Holy Sephiroth? The Holy Sephiroth is this. These are the Sephiroth. Now, the idea is that we move up through these stages to the crown of total enlightenment. And in my study and research of this, that is in line with the chakra. The emotional states and everything that you go through as you're going up the Holy Sephiroth, and your ability to unite with the different dynamics that is talked about in Scientology. And they're all in line with the energy levels that are spoken of, or your reactions to God, as was spoken of in the book by Deepak Chopra, How to Know God, and the emotional energy scales that L. Ron Hubbard talks about. All of these different religions are in line with each other. You see, all of these different things seem to be pointing to the same direction. And in my mind, they're all leading us to a conscious union with God. Now, it's interesting that these different teachers tell us the same story using different terms. And as you start reading them and studying them and getting real close to them, you find out that they are in line. It's really amazing. Now, I'm going to give super credit to my teacher. Dr. Anthony James. He has put together a book cross thought chakra astrology, which lines up the chakra with everything that we do in life, our progression through life. It's really amazing. You got to get this. I think you can get it on Bearded Media. Beardedmedia.com. This book is absolutely amazing in what it can do and what it teaches about the chakra and how we are all in line with this and how we progress through cycles of change in our life. Using the chart like this. Now, you can predict the future relatively using that chart. But all of that is in line with this. You can predict the future. You can predict the future by understanding. You can predict behavior by understanding emotional tones. You become, as you study these things, you become more and more aligned with the Creator's mind. Cool, huh? So, when God was showing me all of these things this morning, He kept referring me to the first chapter in Genesis. Because if Kabbalah is telling us that we need to understand what was going on, all up into the emotional states that God was going through in the beginning, where does that begin? Where can we begin to understand that? And in the book of Genesis, we find out. We learn that. So let's go through that here for just a second. Let me put on my magic glasses so I can clearly understand the Word of God. Yes. So, in the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered upon the surface of the waters. So, put yourself in a spot where you are experiencing this. Imagine in your mind's eye, but what emotions would you be going through as you were here, as you did this? In the beginning of God's creating the heaven and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty, The earth was astonishingly empty. You can say that there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, what would you feel if you were in a space where you noticed that there was absolutely nothing? Just becoming aware of your own self. That'd be kind of scary, wouldn't it? Would be kind of scary. And then what would your thought be? What would your purpose be? What would you be thinking? I'm afraid. I'm alone. I'm all by myself. I'm all about myself. Just as it goes with the chakra, just as it goes with the Sephiroth, just as it goes with our responses to God. Level 1. See how it's all coming together? But then what would you feel? You're sitting in this space for a little while, then what would happen? Then it's like you'd be thinking, I got to do something about this. What can I do about this? How does that make you feel? You're feeling hopeless, but you want to do something about it. What happens? What emotion do you come up to? Yeah. You come up to anger. What is a representation of anger? Fire. When we back up a little bit, when you're in that void, what element is that? And you're hovering over the surface of the water. What element is that? If the earth is astonishingly void, there's nothing there. What element is that? That's ether. And then when you're moving across the surface of the waters, what element is that? It's air. Ether, air. Now we're talking about elemental theory. We're getting into ancient Chinese medicine, Ayurveda medicine, working with the elements. So now we have ether, air. What comes next? Fire. And what is fire? When you're in darkness and you light a candle with fire, it emits light, doesn't it? So in the next, I'm angry now because I want to do something about this void. I don't like it. Want something more. Get angry. Now what do? Let there be light. Let me see what's going on here. And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. All of that, it was at level 1. The bottom here. The bottom of the Sephiroth. The first chakra. The first chakra. Coming up from the first to the second emotion. only capable of taking care of the first dynamic, which is the self. Now we're going to expand into the second dynamic, which is sex or affinity, creating two things. The second dynamic, relationships, the emotion, affinity, start coming into now that I'm here, I want to share it with someone. So where we get into the second stage. And God separated between the light and the darkness. Now there's two. God called to the light day, and to the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning one day. Do you get that? And getting into understanding the mind of God, you have to understand what happened in the beginning. What was God going through in the beginning? As the story says here. And for us to be able to be reunited with God, we have to understand who he is, where he came from, what his emotional states were while he was creating this universe. See, and it's all explained here in these scriptures. One or the other. All of them lead to the same direction. All of them lead the same. They're all going the same way. All of these religions out there are arguing with each other and they're talking about the same thing, just using different words. They might focus on different specific aspects of the words that they're reading and think that those are more important than others. Then they have arguments. And we read through the scriptures that it's foolishness to argue about such things. Because you're talking about the same thing. Just using different words. And all your words are based on your level of consciousness. Your level of your conscious realization of your oneness with God. And that's what we're talking about here. How to develop and how to get to that conscious awareness of your oneness with God. Every philosopher that you have ever read is saying that. Every self-help, self-awareness guru that you've spoken to or heard from are saying that. If that's where they're trying to lead you. If that's what they're trying to do, is get you to have a closer relationship with God. Yeah. It's what it all boils down to. So, there was an analogy that that Michael Berg used in here. Maybe the sage was using it. But it kind of helps understand it a little bit more. So I'm gonna read it here for you. It says, I will use an analogy to explain the concept that with every action in the world, the consciousness that created it cleaves to it and remains with it. Just as in a table, concealed within it is the consciousness of its carpenter and his craftsmanship, great or small, since while he worked, he planned it in his mind. Once a person watching that action comprehends the mind concealed within the action, at that moment he cleaves to the consciousness creating the action. That is, they totally unite. I think that is a really, really great analogy. It really helps bring it in, help you understand, how, and what it's like to really understand and comprehend the consciousness of the person that created something. See, and he goes on further in the book that it's not just that, but the emotional state of the person who created the thing. Yeah. We have to understand what kind of emotional state that he was in during that period of time. Just as we walked through, the emotional state that God must have been going through while he was becoming aware. Okay? And all of this is analogy to help us with this process, with the creative process here in this universe. See, because we know in our hearts that God has always been. But this helps us understand the creative process here in this universe. Now we need to understand the mind of God. And once we do that, then we are completely united with God. Okay? So, that's my purpose with these messages here, is to help bring you closer to God and help you understand and put together in your mind, in your consciousness, in your body, the awareness of your conscious oneness with God. Consciously aware. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this message today. Please share, like, and subscribe. Comment if you like. And until we meet again, I wish you well. Hey, before you go, I wanted to remind you to click the link below to try chocolate powder. It's full of vital nutrients that'll help jumpstart your day. They have sales all the time, so hurry and get yours today. Thanks.